Oh, hey guys. Welcome back to another top five. Today we're talking about wrestling. Yeah, we're going to do top five wrestling factions on some random comedian's top five. That means absolutely nothing. If you're not big into wrestling, I'm sure you're like, what is a faction? It just means a group of people that come together for some higher good. It's usually to quote unquote chase championship gold. That's what a lot of them say they're forming for. A lot of great factions out there in pro wrestling. And nowadays, you got the Bloodline. I know a lot of people are waiting for that storyline to be over with. You got Damage Control on the ladies' side. You got Karrion Kross and Authors of Pain. I think they're called the Final Testament, so that's starting out. You got Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. You got the Bullet Club Gold over in AEW. You got so many groups. You got Best Friends. And I'm a big fan of it. I love when wrestling has more factions and more groups, and I love that the new groups are starting to form. So today we're going to talk about some of the best ones that we've had over the years. And as pro wrestling goes, I know you guys are already ready to disagree with me on this. So that's fine. Go ahead and leave your favorite factions in the comments. Let me know. But let's keep it civil, okay? Now, I wish a lot of these groups were fantastic and awesome to start with, but they didn't really achieve the heights that I think they all wanted to achieve. So I wish that the Wyatt family was on this list. I wish that Raven's Flock was on this list. I wish Aces and Eights would have played out a little bit better. You know, the main event Mafia was a great idea that just wasn't given enough time to breathe. So I feel like there's a lot of storylines with these groups that are either cut too short or they add too many members and they just let it play out way too long. So you'll see some of those on the list that I look past because their greatness outshined how terrible they got over the years. But some of them just didn't pan out like we all wish they would have, you know, like Nexus. Honorable mention in this week's countdown, we have Evolution. Big Ric Flair fan, you know, from North Carolina, of course. I love Ric Flair. Big Triple H fan over the years, just had that staying power. Now he's running the show and I think doing a great job. But this group was about the other two members. It was about Randy Orton and Batista and pushing them to the top. And it's funny because you hear stories now about Randy Orton like getting thrown out of the locker room and like just really dealt with a lot of stuff. I'm sure some of it was his fault, but a lot of it was because he was put in this group and some of the other wrestlers were jealous. Jealous, you say? Yes, wrestlers have a long, storied history of being big old babies and acting out when they don't get their way. So Batista and Orton were the handpicked crew to get elevated from this group. So that's why they got a lot of grief from the guys in the locker room. But hey, it served its purpose. Randy Orton went on to win a bajillion titles. Batista's a movie star, and Ric Flair's one of the greats, and Triple H is running things. So Evolution, honorable mention. That just shows you the caliber of groups we have on this list if they didn't crack the top five. All right, getting into it. Number five, it's The Shield. All these guys on their own are just absolutely running pro wrestling right now. Debuted at Survivor Series in 2012. Kind of out of nowhere. We didn't even know that these guys were paired together. We knew that Seth Rollins was the NXT champion. Saw Dean Ambrose every now and then, and Roman Reigns was kind of like the wild card here. We didn't really know a lot about him other than he was related to The Rock somehow. And these guys kind of just came onto the scene and destroyed everybody. The top guys, they were always in a storyline with Ryback and CM Punk. Heyman was sprinkled in there. Sheamus, Kane, Daniel Bryan, all the top guys interacted with the Shield, and they had a great arc. They got to be the bad guys. They got to be the good guys. So I wish we really would have gotten a lot of that teased Wyatt family Shield stuff. That was amazing. But one fatal chair shot from Seth freaking Rollins on Roman Reigns in June of 2014. Seth aligning himself with Triple H and the Authority. We had a great Shield Evolution mashup to end this, and so then that pushed all these guys to the top. Dean kind of got pushed under the rug a little bit in WWE. I don't know what they were trying to do with him there at the end with like getting his vaccines and thinking towns were gross. But I don't know. But he went to AEW, and he's been one of the, cornerstones there since it started. So I think we can all safely say these three gentlemen did just fine for themselves. Moving on to number 4, we have the Bullet Club. Started with old Prince Devitt. I think you guys might know him as Finn Balor nowadays. Started off in New Japan Pro Wrestling. They were the non-Japanese wrestlers, so they banded together. Him, Carl Anderson. They got Bad Luck Fale in there. They got Luke Gallows joined, Young Bucks, all that good stuff. Toma Tonga. This was May 2013. It's still going today. There's been so many variations and different spin-offs of this. My favorite incarnation of this was when they were in New Japan and Ring of Honor. They had Adam Cole, Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega, Young Bucks, the Good Brothers. You just didn't know. You had some cracks within. You didn't know who the leader was, all this good stuff. And that's another great thing about Bullet Club is there's a lot of misconceptions and myths and, a lot of arguments out there on the internet of who was actually a leader at one point, who did this, who did that. So, the good old wrestling community will love a good debate. But no, Bullet Club's still going strong. Bullet Club Gold in AEW is pretty entertaining with the Devil storyline. Jay White. I love the Gun Club. I love those two idiots. Billy Gunn, who might show up later on this list, is doing a great job over there. So AEW really did great with the factions, keeping it going, bringing it over from Japan. To number 3, we have the Four Horsemen. Influential throughout the 80s and 90s. So many different members, so many different reincarnations, but these two guys always were part of it. It's Ric Flair, Arn Anderson. Started off in 1985 in Jim Crockett's promotion to battle Dusty Rhodes and the Road Warriors. It was Ric Flair, Ole, and Arn Anderson, who weren't really related, but that's the great thing about wrestling. Like, you kind of look alike. You're brothers now. And it had Tully Blanchard, and then J.J. Dillon was their mouthpiece. It's hard to think now, after you see what kind of career he had, that Ric Flair needed a mouthpiece back in the day, but he didn't. But they gave him a manager anyway, and that was the Four Horsemen, and had so many great members over the years. We got Lex Luger, Barry Windham, Sting, Sid Vicious, Brian Pillman, Steve McMichael, the football player, Double J, Jeff Jarrett. You got Dean Malenko was in there in the WCW years. We had Benoit was in there. So many wrestlers have been part of the Four Horsemen, but my incarnation of it just always starts and ends with Ric Flair and Arn Anderson wherever they go. So we got 2 more to get through. These are 2 of my favorite groups. I mean, obviously, this is my list, but number 2, this group got me in so much trouble, and a lot of kids over the years doing the crotch chop. It is Degeneration X. So many years getting in trouble. I'm a grown man, and I still love doing that from time to time. It makes you feel alive, good old crotch chop to someone who probably doesn't deserve it, but they got it anyway. But make sure, it's someone it's not just a random stranger, because that's just rude to crotch chop a random stranger you don't know, okay? Formed in August of 1997, it was originally Shawn Michaels, Triple H, who were best friends backstage, and they couldn't wait to be together on screen. Of course, management and higher-ups had their doubts on if it was a good idea, but they teamed them together with Chyna and Rick Rude, who a lot of people forget about. He jumped ship to WCW. Unfortunately, didn't live too much longer after that, but he was an original member of Degeneration X, so I got to give him his flowers there. And then, unfortunately, Shawn Michaels, this is when he broke his back in the casket match with The Undertaker, so he had to do this whole build-up to losing his belt to Stone Cold, kind of passing the torch, which he did not do willingly, but he knew he had to go get his back fixed, and he kind of thought he was retired and done, but they had the whole thing with Mike Tyson, and he retired after that. And then Triple H, this is when his time to shine, because he became the leader, recruited X-Pac and the New Age Outlaws, and man, they had some great times there. When they went and invaded WCW in the tank, that was just good TV. But number 2, Degeneration X, and it's only because when you think of wrestling factions, you think of Number one, it's the NWO. These guys changed everything. Every group since then has tried to be the NWO in some way, shape, or form. Now, I'm not saying it was perfect. This incarnation of it was perfect. When Hulk Hogan came out as the third member at Bash at the Beach, just changed the game. I was like, I think I was 12. I was at the time, what was it, 96? I was 11. So, I mean, it was just blew my mind, changed my world. And that's when wrestling really became must-watch TV. It's when WCW actually took the ratings away from WWF at the time. Can't call it that anymore. But the Monday Night Wars really shifted with these guys. Epic storyline with them and Sting, and it was really well done. I just wish they wouldn't have had 22 members when it was all said and done. If they would have kept it small, kept them just a destructive group. But, you know, they were the first really group to really do this and really have that invasion angle. You know, we thought it was Razor Ramon and Diesel invading WCW, but it was Scott Hall and Kevin Nash getting signed by WCW. And then, of course, Hulk Hogan, who we thought would be a good guy forever, turning bad. But yeah, if they would have just kept it that original group, maybe added, you know, I liked X-Pac. I liked the Giant in there was pretty good too. Didn't need Ted DiBiase and Eric Bischoff. You know, they kind of canceled each other out, but it just got too big, too fast. But I can't try to lie and tell you I wasn't watching it and wrapped up every single Monday, and I loved every second of it. So that is my top 5 wrestling factions. Please let me know some, I'm sure you will, that I forgot that I didn't include. State your case. But most importantly, share us with your friends, your family. Let us know what top 5 you'd like to do next. Hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned. Got a lot of great stuff coming your way.